Good day, dear learner of contact center services NC2. Today we are going to talk about this topic following the standard transfer procedure. There would be times during the early or later part of the call where you would need to transfer the customer to another department or line. There is a need to do this because you may not have the solutions required by the customer. Call transfer requires special attention and special guidelines need to be followed. When you transfer a call, you must exert an effort in having the customer believe that you are transferring him or her because this would mean that you are helping to resolve the concern of the customer, not because he or she is being passed around. In doing this, you need to pay special attention on the guidelines to be followed so as to make the customer happy at the end of the call. Let the customer know the reason why you need to transfer the call. So this is the same as similar to the standard hold procedure. We are supposed to explain to the customer why we are placing them on hold before we eventually press the hold button. So in the same way, when doing transfers, we need to properly um, explain to the customer the reason for the transfer of the call. You educate the customer about the time and about the external contact number of the other department where you will transfer him or her. But then again, this varies per client, so per company. So we just, at the end of the day, we will just have to listen and follow whatever the company policy is telling us to do. So there are specific cases where transfers are needed. And depending on the company, they may add specific situations or specific issues that need to be transferred. But generally, we are going to discuss these situations. So transfer is needed only when the concern is outside your support service. That's number one. Meaning to say, if the concern is out of your scope, out of your powers, definitely you cannot help the customer with that particular issue. But the only thing that you can do to help the customer is to transfer the call to the correct department. Number two, you have already exhausted all possible means for helping the customer, but then again, wala na mahimo. So you really have to transfer the call. And number three, you have explained to the customer that you will be transferring them due to specific reasons. And number four, it is expressly instructed by the client that you should do this for specific cases. So those are the situations where you need or where you are only allowed to transfer the call. You cannot transfer calls to another department for any incorrect reason. Okay, that would be call abandonment. And we are not supposed to abandon calls, otherwise, that's a red flag. Okay, there are three types of call transfers depending on how or depending on the manner we transfer the customer. The three types are warm, cold, and dry. So let's start with warm. For warm transfer, you need to introduce the customer to the agent of the department that you are transferring the call to. The agent will wait on the phone to introduce the customer and to provide background information about the call. So if you're familiar with conference calls, this is the same as conference call where you and the other agent from another department will be able to talk to each other and the customer will also be able to listen to you. All right, moving on. The second type of call transfer is called, yes, cold transfer. If cold transfer, you let the customer know that you are no longer going to stay on the line with them. The customer needs to wait for the other department to answer the call. So that's basically cold transfer. And the last type is dry. Dry transfer, on the other hand, is transferring without introducing the customer to the department who will take the next call. So, recap, there are three types of call transfers: warm, cold, and dry. The next topic is about taking notes during a call. This is actually about multitasking. Taking notes or note taking during a call requires documenting the details of the call. And there are specific instructions on how these notes would be taken, which vary from client to client. Meaning to say, the manner that I do documentation in one particular BPO company may not be the same as that of another company. Subot pa sabot, ang note taking na mo during the call sa dihang nag-work pa ko sa Teletech is not the same as that of note taking sa dito ko nag-work na sa Converges. So, but then again, parehara na sila nga taking notes during a call. A common practice is to encode the details of the call on the computer as you conduct the conversation. This will be a good documentation of what transpired during the call should the customer make a follow-up on his or her concerns. This will also assist other call center agents on how to deal with the matter based on the resolution you have made or agreed. Because if you remember, katong gisulat na ko sa board before nga gi-specify who was the name of the caller, the reason for the call, actions taken and resolutions taken, and mo na siya ang some of the important notes that should be done during a call. But then again, it will vary from one company to another. Kaya ang uban embedded na sa software. So if you make changes to the customer's account, or if you do a certain transaction, that will automatically be annotated sa iyang account. So naiuban nga ingon ana sayon lang. No need to do note taking kay whatever you do sa iyang account mo reflect na siya mismo sa wrap up nga page. All right. So next slide is about making a lasting impression. As an agent, you need to close a call that creates a lasting impression. Closing the call is an opportunity to recap key points, resolve and or summarize the outcome of the conversation. This will also be an opportunity to end the call in a professional way. Kana mo na siya. That's why it's really important to make a lasting impression. So on this slide, you are shown the steps on how to close the call. So the closing call structure starts with you recap the reason for the call, followed by summarizing the action to be taken or actions taken, and advise processing time frame, then offer additional assistance and thank the customer. So an example would be if the customer's name is Mr. Keating, so you say, Mr. Keating, your request to activate your account has now been done. This will be processed within the next 24 hours, after which you can already make use of your card in an ATM machine nearest you. Is there anything else I can help you today? Thank you for calling Thrift Bank Incorporated and have a nice day. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. And for any questions or clarifications, please feel free to let me know. I hope you learned something for today's episode. God bless and see you.